Yesterday we saw how to create a project from Spring Starter website, then import that project into our IDE and write a simple Hello World API or expose an Hello World API for a GET call. Okay, I hope that much is clear to everyone. So today we will go ahead and see how to return an object as response and how to return a list of object as response and how to do a post call and receive data from the request. Okay, so let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here I have written hello controller. So now I will consider a student object. I want to receive, I want to send a student as response when I'm asked to send. Okay, how do I do that? So we have this here. This belongs to demo Spring, right? Demo Spring. So in this same source main Java, here I create new class, okay, and I rename this package as student controller. Student controller. And give name as student controller. Okay, then I tell finish. So here we have a class called student controller. What does a controller class do? We talked about this yesterday. What should a controller class do? Hello?
It will map the HTTP request with the particular business logic.
Yep, exactly. It handles the incoming request and maps any controller class work is this, job is this, to map the incoming HTTP request and delegate the business logical calculations to respective functions of service layer. Okay, then return back the appropriate response according to that business logic calculations. Okay, for that we have to make this as what? This student controller. What should we annotate with this class as?
REST controller.
REST controller.
Yeah, at REST controller. Okay, so and we have to import it. Control Shift O will import it like this. Okay, now I want to return a student. Okay, when asked for or when asked for a student, like for that I have to return back a student. So to return a student, first we should have a student object, right? How do we return a student? It is very what normal code that we used to write. It is just public student and what? Return student. Okay, that's it. And we have to return a student. Return new student of. So where is the student class? What is this student class should be created as?
Pojo.
Yeah, it is a POJO and it is used for transferring data from one layer to another layer. We will create it as a simple class. So what I do is control create class student. Okay, yes, finish. So it is a POJO, a plain old Java object class, which contains only two what variables or attributes. One is name, private string name, and private int age. Okay, only
So,
these two are
question.
there. Yep.
So, do you need to store this class in the same package, student controller?
Yeah, because it is just a DTO, data transfer object, you can store it here.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So then we'll generate student getter setters, source, generate getter setters, select all, and generate. Okay, that's it. So this becomes the student class. Now we come back here. There are no errors. We have to return back student. And we will also give a constructor so that public student let me generate that constructor. Okay. Source generate constructor using fields, select all, generate. Okay, then save this, come back here. So here we have to send name and age. I will take name as Ramu and age as 20. Okay, I save this. Now I will run. So we have to run the same demo Spring application. Come here and run as Java application. Okay. This side. Now you see the Spring application is started. Now what should I do? You tell me. How to test it?
You'll have to use that
Talent API.
Okay, I'll go to Talent API. Come here and go to this extension. I have Talent API tester. Yeah. So here, what should I do?
You'll have to annotate the get mapping in the code now, sir.
Yes, yes. Before this, we have to expose or we have to tell explicitly that for this URL, this method should work. Okay, that we have not done, that we should do. How can we do that? How can we do this job that for this URL, this method should work? How are we going to do that? In student controller, for this return student method, we have to annotate with an annotation called get mapping, because we would like to execute this method on a get call and tell this should be the URL student. Okay, and I do Control Shift O, that imports get mapping. Any questions? Any doubts? Okay. Now, if I go back there and tell student and send the request, so I am getting an error 404. not found. Why?
Yes, should be capital.
No.
No.
Come here. Okay. Why? Because I have to restart the server. So I stop it and restart it. So I come here and send it again. So now you see we get an object as the response from the API that we have built. Any doubts, any questions? This is how we can send a Java object as a response to some get call. Is it clear?
So SpringBoot will automatically convert all the instance variables in this JSON format.
Not all those things. Yes, it sends. Yes, correct. You are correct. It sends all the instance variable as key value pair of JSON.
But if I want to just return an array and not an object, is that possible in SpringBoot?
You can return an array of object. Okay.
No.
We'll see that. We'll see that. How
Okay,
to
sir.
return. Okay. Clear?
Yes,
Any
sir.
any other questions? How to send a Java object as response to an get API call? Everybody
So,
clear with this?
one more question. I understand that if you have an array instance variable, it will be reflected as an array in the JSON output. But if I have a collection, would that also be represented as an array?
In other words, when I tell array, it is collection only.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we can send collections only.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now we'll see how to send a collection. Okay, collection or a list of students as a response. So for that, how should we code a method? It's just like this. Public, we have to send what? A list of students. List type to student and return students. Okay. And what we should return? A list. So I create a list of student lists list equal to new array list of, and I do Control-Shift-O. It imports whatever is necessary, and I return student list. Okay. And before returning, I should add some students to this list. So what I do is I copy this, copy, paste, student list dot add of okay. I copy this, paste, I add some 5 students, Ramu, Somu, Ramu, okay, Raju, what? Harry. So now I return the list. That's it. But what are we missing? Main thing?
Get mapping again.
Yeah, get mapping. So we have to tell that for this URL, we have to execute this method. So how do we do that? We do at get mapping again, and inside we have to set the URL path. I tell students. Okay. So for students, if it is a single student, it will return single student. If it is students, it will return a list of students. Okay. So I come back here, rather I will come here and run the server. We'll see the server is up and running, and I come here. So for student, it is the same. I hit send. So it is sending Ramu. For students, I send the request, and you see here Ramu, Somu, Shamu, Raju, and Hai. Like this, you get the list. You can see the, you can see the box braces, square braces, which tells that the response is an array. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
this is the array of object or list of object that is sent as a response when we make a get call. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. So can you go back to the code, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I only have one get URL / student. And my business logic says that if there is only one student, it should return only one student. But if there are multiple students, I should return a list of students. Instead of using two separate methods, can I just use a single method and have two different return types for the same get mapping annotation?
No, you cannot decide that URL. This URL, you can do that. There will be a hack, but for this particular, you cannot switch between the what URL paths like this. Okay. I do not know how. There will be a hack certainly, like if.
Sir, I think you can just make that return type as object and just return two different things.
Sorry.
We can just make the return data type as object and then have some if condition inside the method and return two different things.
That
Agreed.
is a
Okay.
hack. Yeah, that is a
Okay.
hack.
Clear, sir. No issue.
Right? It's not a direct way. We can just put the list as some as a static variable and check
Correct.
how many entries are there in that.
Correct.
So if only single entry is there or added to that list, you can send that as that student as this thing. But you cannot return multiple things, so you have to make it as an object. So that's an indirect way of returning a student. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? Anything else? So we saw how to return an object or a plain Java object from for an get API call, Java list. Okay, list of objects for an API call. And now we'll see how to get the data from the URL. Okay, so I want to receive the data from the get call itself, from the URL itself, and test whether that particular student is present in the list or not. If it is present, we send back a string as that student is present. Else, we'll send the student is not present. Clear? This is the requirement. So I have a string, I have a list of students. What I do is I cut this and I paste it here. Okay. Then all these things I do it here. Okay. Cool. Then just do this. Okay, we cannot do this here. Save. Then here I would get some data from the URL itself. So what is that data? It is a name. I get the name from the URL. How do I get? For that, I should know how the URL should be, right? I define the URL as I will respond for a get call. So I tell at get mapping and here I have to define the URL /search /name. Okay. So for this URL, I am sending some name, some data to search. Okay. So what I do, public, I return a string search student. Okay. And here I want to extract this name. How can I extract? If you remember, does anyone remember how to extract that? I have told about one annotation at
request param
or path variable. It's
path variable.
It's path variable. Okay. Path variable string name. Okay. So now I have to search in the list. Okay. How do I search? How do I search? What is this list of? This is the list of students. I am having this name. How do I search whether this name is present in that list of students, student object?
Search
This,
each student one by one and then check if the name is equal.
yeah. So how do I do that?
For student STU.
For student in, okay, this is Java, not Python. For student, student
Student list.
Student list. Okay. Here.
If student.name equals name.
Student.name. Can we do this?
Okay, get name, student.get name.
Yeah, student.get name dot equals name. Return what?
Found.
Name plus is present in the list, right? Else return this is not present in the list. Clear? What
Yes,
are
sir.
we doing? We are writing same Java code, what we used to write earlier in the core Java. What is just an extra thing, an ornament or like a decorator like thing is this get mapping. That's it, right? You have to know this much extra in Spring Boot. What are all these annotations doing? That's it. And how the Spring Boot application works. Okay. This is not something rocket science, guys. It is very easy. Just you have to get the essence, or you have to get the idea of how it is working. So now if we go for this URL /search/ some name, this operation is done and it returns the respective response. Okay. So what I do is I go here and I stop the server and rerun it. Okay. So I come back here. If I do is only this much, what will I get?
404 error, I guess.
404 error because it is not there. So not found. This URL is not defined. We have to give one more thing, /search/Ramu. Okay, I send the request. You see, you get 200. Ramu is present in the list. I send Rama and send the request. Okay, still the response is 200. Response should not change. Okay, and it tells Rama is not present in the list. Clear? Any question?
Sir,
Any doubt?
can you add one Ramu to the list and then check it again?
Ramu is there in the list.
No, sir. That's only there if we call that /students. Otherwise, the list is empty.
Yep. But now did we call /students?
We did not.
Yep, we did not. So what's happening? Let us see.
Whatever name you give, it will be not present.
So I stop the server. Okay, I come back here. I run the server again. So Ramu, I tell.
Capital sir.
Capital R. Ramu is not present. Rama is also not present. But if I call students, and send the request, okay, I get the students. Now I come back here and search/Ramu and I send the request. Ramu is present in the list.
Okay, sir.
So now do you see why we should have different layers, why data should be outside of everything and data handling should be so careful, and that is why we should have different layers. This control layer should not have any data logic concern. Okay, because there will be, it is vulnerable and it is there are so many security issues. That is why this architecture of securing data and defining multiple layers in front of data is there. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes.
Everybody, any doubts, any questions? Anybody, any questions?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So what I do is next, we will do 1 or 2 post calls. Okay. Post calls are used to fetch data from front-end application. Okay. Like you have a form, you have Google form, you have some other application form, or you have some form to fill in your front end. Okay. You get all those data using and to handle that data, you expose a post call. Okay. We get some request object, response object. We'll not go for request and response object today, but we will see how to get data from a post call, handle that, and give back the response. Okay. So for doing post call, what we will use? What annotation?
At post map.
Yeah, at post map. So at post mapping, and what we have to define, we have to we'll tell that create, and what we will receive, we'll receive student name, and also we will receive age. Okay. Now we have to define a method where we use this name and age to create a student object and add to the list. Okay. So how do we do that? We will expose public and return back a string for now, string create student. Okay. So what are we getting here? We are getting at path variable string name and at path variable int age. Okay, these two will get and we have to import this post mapping. So we'll import it using this. So we have get mapping, we have post mapping, get and post mapping for defining the URL and marking that this method is for get call, this method is for post call and defining the URL. Path variable is to fetch the data from the URL that is sent from the front end. And REST controller annotation is to tell that this class controls the or exposes the API and controls the incoming HTTP request and gives back the response. Clear? So then we come back here and how do we create those students? Student list dot add. Okay, what do we do is new student of name comma age. Student list is spelling. Okay, and return student created. Clear? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Anybody, any questions? What did we do here? We defined a post method or post API endpoint where in the URL, we get name and age. And in the method, we are extracting that name and age using path variable and creating the students with the arguments that is passed in the URL, and we return a response like student created. So what I do is I come here. So it is stopped. I run this again. Okay. Spring application is running. I come back here and I tell create slash Ramu slash age 30 and I send. What happened? 405. Okay. Why 405? Can you make out the error? Can you make out the error?
Is the age being considered as a string?
Nope.
Sir, can you scroll up?
Yeah.
We should be post.
Yeah, correct. Good. So we are making a get call. It's here. What error is saying? Method not allowed, and that allows only post method. So you have to change this to post. So change this to post, and you have to send the body like this request body and all you can send. We'll see how to send, and I tell send. Come here. So student create. Now I have to list. What I do? How can I list students?
So before you list students, can you create one more student called Raju and give the age as A?
Yeah. Create slash Raju slash age as 8.
Not 8, sir. A for Apple.
Yeah. Okay. So you get an error, right? It's not an int.
So I want to see what that error is.
Yep. You see? Bad request.
Okay, no issues. Yep.
400. So then I give some 8 and send. Now you see student created. All these things we should handle. Where we will handle these input validations inside our front-end application. Okay, all these requests should go via front-end application. If user enters a wrong value, it should tell on his face that we'll see some prompts, alerts in our front-end application. You should tell then and there itself before sending data to backend application. Okay.
Okay.
Then I will list the students, and I send 105. Okay, it's a get call. So we do a get call and I send. You see, we get Ramu, Raju, Somu, Raju, Harry also, because it is also added in the same method where we call students. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, any doubts?
So can we have a same URL having both get and post methods?
Yep, you can have that.
Okay, sir.
You can have that. Method of HTTP request can change, and the same students, same URL you can have. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So is this enough today, or shall we? This is what we did in the case of book, guys. What did we do? We wrote separate classes. I think that confused you. This is what we did. All this adding thing, we did it in a separate class which is called as repository, and we just call that method, right? Even searching. This functionality will not write here. This is a business logic. This particular thing we will write in a service class and return back the respective result, whether it is present or not. According to that, we will return the response. And create also will not tell add. We will not have any data structures or data handling things inside this controller class. Okay, all these things we have to shift to some other package, like if it is a business logic thing, we will shift it to service. If it is a data logic thing, we will shift it to repository. Okay, any confusions, anybody?
Also,
Everybody is clear with this? What you people do is you try these things. Okay, you try how to send back a simple object, simple Java object, then how to send a list of object, then how to do this search thing. Okay, you receive some data from the URL and search whether that data is there or not in your list. Then you do a post call and create this particular create a new student using that data which is sent from the URL. Okay, you try this. Tomorrow we'll move forward. Okay, what do you say?
okay, so
Yes, sir.
Any questions, any doubts, any confusions? Make it clear now itself before we move ahead. No questions?
So
Yeah.
one question, for the interviews, do we need to know how Spring Boot does that component scan and all those things? Or is it sufficient if we know how to just write this piece of code?
Only this much is actually nobody asks those questions. They will ask about what is dependency injection. We have talked about it. What is inversion of control? Inversion of control, I have not just told this. The way the Spring Boot works, right? Earlier, you used to create objects. You used to do so many things. But now the Spring Boot does so many things that for you, like creating objects whenever needed. For that, you can give the example of AutoWire. This is what is called as inversion of control. They'll ask only this kind of theory questions and something about annotations. What does at rest controller do? What does get mapping do? What does at repository do? What service do? That's it. Theoretically, they will ask only these kind of questions.
Okay.
And like I have explained the architecture of Spring Boot, different layers, that also you should remember, like view layer, presentation layer, business logic layer, service layer, or controller layer, then service layer, then your repository layer, then your database. Like this, you have to explain.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Nobody asks how component scan is done. If they ask, you can tell this much. Whatever in Spring Boot, whatever classes we annotate with either at component, at repository, at REST controller, or at controller, at service, at entity. Whatever we, if we mark or annotate the classes with these annotations, then these classes are considered as components of Spring Boot. They become the part of Spring Boot container. You see, Spring Boot acts as a container which is inside our JVM. JVM forms the outermost container. Inside that, Spring Boot container will be there. If we annotate our classes with all these different annotations, then all these classes are considered to be the components. And under this component, all these components are scanned or kept ready for dependency injection. Whenever we need any dependency and tell that it is auto-wired or annotate something with auto-wired, it creates the object for us and it injects it as a dependency. You can tell like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other question? Anybody else? Everybody is clear with this much? Hello, everybody. I would like to hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Then meet you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, sir.